Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today I wanted to do a little video on what the masculine energy, which is your divine masculine or masculine energy, regardless of the gender, is experiencing on the twin flame journey. Now we hear a lot about what the feminine energy is going through, the more intensity of the work that she has to do on her end. But this video is really to kind of talk about what the journey looks like on the other side. Now, the masculine energy in your twin flame connection is really the 3D twin, the one that is dedicated to really dealing with the outside world, while the feminine energy in the connection is really focused on the spiritual side, really leading the inner work so that this union can actually occur. Now, apart from the bubble love phase in the twin flame journey, where you actually first met and were absolutely in sync with each other. So, you came together, that meeting or energetic activation was divinely orchestrated. And just after that, you had an intense and beautiful sort of communication with each other. You had the same sort of vibes with each other and absolutely, felt like you found your person. That was the only time in this journey that you should have been able to really experience that perfect, being in sync with each other. Right after that, though, what really happens with the masculine energy is that the fear kicks in. The fear of, what is this that I'm experiencing? I've never really felt this before with any other individual. Why am I feeling that with this individual that I've just met or have come into energetic, interaction with? So unable to really handle those emotions, they quickly turn and start backing away from the connection. And that's where you both become and take on the dynamics of the runner and chaser. Now, really what is happening is the emotions are so deep for the masculine energy to experience that they are not ready to feel them. Two of the biggest woundings that the masculine energy actually has is to their heart chakra and their throat chakra, because the heart is really where they've gotten some sort of an abandonment issue in the past or, betrayal. And throat is really their emotional suppression and inability to really express themselves. So even if they really feel the feelings, they run, because based on their past wounding, they do not want to be in that same sort of situation as they've experienced in the past. And that is what leads to that separation. Now, what happens next with the masculine energy is, as they decide to run, they need something to keep themselves preoccupied with. So they do what they do best, which is deal with their physical world and really bury themselves in work, in other engagements, to really not experience the kind of emotions that it is that the feminine energy makes them feel. And so they are, tied to their achievements, their work. And so they work even harder and harder at work, trying to pull themselves away from the thought process of this connection. Now, as long as the chaser continues to chase, the runner runs even harder, because there's a lot of mental energy that you are pushing their way that they do not want to experience. And while they can feel that, they just don't know how to cope with it. And so therefore, they go to their coping mechanisms, which is basically dealing with the physical world and really, not having to use their mind really towards having any emotions towards you, feeling from the heart. And really, so they go into burying themselves into work. masculine energies, they may even take this a step further and start to look for other individuals that they can interact with, which is, possibly a karmic connection that may come their way, in order to help them really deal with not having to think about their twin flame. So really, they may be dating, they may find partners, they may even get married, depending on how long your separation is working out to be and how that is working out on your end in terms of the work that you're doing in order to help this connection. But nevertheless, on their side, they now are looking for a partner, they are looking for work to keep them busy and keep this connection away from them. And really what is happening here is they do not want to re-experience what they've experienced in the past. And their thought process is, if it hurt so bad in the past, this has got to be way worse. And so they are going to avoid this at all costs. Now, in some cases, the partners that they find may even, on many levels, have your qualities, because they're almost searching for what they've experienced with you, and they kind of have, a sort of understanding of what their ideal partner looks like. It can't be you because you can cause them the pain, but maybe they can find those qualities of, what they've experienced with you in somebody else. Now, you being the feminine energy, if you're watching this from the outside, please do not be discouraged on their journey. We have soul contracts that we come into that we really need to fulfill. And also they are geared for our soul growth. So being the connection that this is, they have to go through whatever they have to go through. And you really need to detach yourself from what is happening on the masculine's side in terms of what's happening on their journey. This journey needs to be about you, your inner transformation. So that's where your focus should be, and really don't take this to heart. However, all they are trying to do is find the best way they can to deal with their situation and then kind of move on without trying to come into union or contact with you. And this is simply because there is healing that needs to be done there, which is, of course, in the hands of the feminine energy. Now, really, the key thing that the feminine energy needs to focus on here is clearing the bottom 3 chakras and then healing the heart. And really, healing your heart chakra is actually going to take you the most time on this journey. And sometimes it's because you're dealing with wounds that the feminine energy might not even be aware of, while the masculine energy is really aware of what's happening in terms of the pain that they've experienced in the past. It might not be so obvious to the feminine energy based on their issues. In some cases, yes, but in some cases, it could be past life and you are not aware of this. Nevertheless, you want to take the time it's going to take for you to really open up that heart chakra. And as you start to experience that love, become that love vibration, is when really the magic starts to happen and you are able to start magnetizing your twin in towards you. The work here is not done though, because you really need to be able to anchor in those energies and those frequencies and continue your inward journey. The heart chakra really is just the beginning where you start to see more of the transformation really start to take place, but it doesn't end there. So keep going. And also when you come to the throat chakra, you get more of your individual expression, which ultimately is happening. That healing is reflecting in your twin as well. So you have to really work on those 2 chakras, of course, rising from the bottom up. But as you get those are 2 of your tougher ones that you usually work towards, and takes you a little bit more time to kind of overcome. Now, something to really just remember on the twin flame journey is that the masculine energy actually follows the same process that you do as well. Similar to you experiencing Kundalini, well, that felt like a very hard journey. Well, guess what? They have to go through it exactly the same way, whether they are with someone, not with someone, burying themselves in work. There comes a point where they can no longer deny what this journey is really bringing out in them. So it is something they will need to pay attention to and really work through the process. No matter how much they may resist it, the masculine energy needs to follow suit. It is, really crucial here to understand, though, that the feminine energy, regardless of the male or female, there are no, gender specifications here. It doesn't matter. As long as you are the feminine energy, the chaser in the dynamic, as long as you do the inner work, the masculine energy is going to follow. Now, this does sometimes take time, depends on your own individual healing journeys. However, the only way to get them to really experience what you've experienced is for you to do the inner work. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.